pain. That was the first thing I felt when I woke up. A deep, gnawing ache spread through my ribs, and my head throbbed like I'd been hit by a truck. The last thing I remembered was the battlefield, gunfire, explosions, and the chaos of war. Then silence. Now I was in a strange room, dimly lit, filled with a soft blue glow. My body was strapped to a medical pod, the air thick with a scent that reminded me of fresh rain. "You're awake," a voice murmured. I turned my head. A woman stood beside me. No, she wasn't human. Her skin shimmered in pale violet hues, and her silver-white hair flowed down her back like liquid moonlight. She had 4 delicate fingers, long and graceful, as they hovered over my arm. Her golden eyes held an unreadable expression. I blinked, my throat dry. Where am I?" "You are in the care of the Zevani Medical Corps," she answered. "Your injuries were severe. We saved you." Her voice was smooth, soothing, almost musical. "Who are you?" I asked. She hesitated before responding. "My name is Riza." Riza. It suited her. She lifted a small device and pressed it gently against my chest. A warm sensation spread through me, easing some of the pain. "Your body is resilient," she noted. "Most species take weeks to heal from such damage. You have already stabilized." "Yeah, humans are tough," I muttered, trying to sit up. Her hands pressed against my shoulders, surprisingly firm. "Rest. You are not ready yet." I sighed, realizing she was right. My limbs felt like lead. As I lay back, I studied her. There was something different about the way she looked at me. A curiosity. A quiet intensity. "You've been watching over me," I said. Her golden eyes flickered as if caught off guard. Then, she nodded. "Yes. I am your assigned caretaker." Something about the way she said it sent a strange heat curling in my stomach. I thought she was just my nurse. But I was wrong. So wrong. Days passed, and I recovered faster than expected. Riza was always there, tending to my wounds, adjusting my treatment, and watching me with that same quiet intensity. At first, I thought it was just professional care. But soon, I started noticing things. The way her fingers lingered when she touched me. The way her gaze would drop to my lips when I spoke. And then, there were the moments when she seemed distracted. Like she was fighting something inside herself. One evening, as she checked my vitals, I caught her staring again. "Something on your mind?" I asked. She stiffened. "No. Your condition is improving." I smirked. "Come on, Riza. You've been looking at me like I'm a puzzle you can't figure out." Her lips parted slightly. "You are unusual." "Unusual how?" She hesitated, then took a step closer. "Human males. Your scent is difficult to ignore." I frowned. "Scent." Her jaw tightened and she turned away sharply. "It is nothing." "Forget I said anything." But I couldn't forget. I started paying attention. The way she would inhale deeply when near me. The way her pupils dilated ever so slightly. The way her breathing hitched when I accidentally brushed against her. One night, I caught her watching me as I slept. She didn't know I was awake. Her fingers trembled as she reached out, just barely grazing my cheek before pulling away as if burned. And in that moment, I realized something. Riza wasn't just taking care of me. She was struggling. Fighting something primal. Something she didn't want to admit. But it was only a matter of time before she broke. It happened without warning. One night, I woke to the sound of heavy breathing. The air felt thick, charged with something electric. I turned my head, and there she was. Riza stood at the foot of my bed, her hands clenched into fists, her body trembling. "Riza," I murmured. She looked at me with wide, golden eyes. Her pupils were huge, her chest rising and falling with each shaky breath. I cannot control it anymore," she whispered. I sat up. "What's happening?" She swallowed hard. "My kind, we experience cycles. A time when our instincts take over. When she stopped, exhaling sharply. "When we seek a mate." The room felt 10 degrees hotter. Her eyes locked onto mine, desperate, conflicted. "You are the cause," she admitted. "Your presence, your scent. I have fought it for days. But I cannot any more." I felt my pulse hammer in my throat. She took a slow step forward. Then another. Until she was right in front of me. Her hands trembled as she reached out, fingers brushing against my cheek. "You do not understand what you are doing to me," she whispered. I swallowed. "Then tell me." She let out a shuddering breath. "You make me want things I should not." And then, she kissed me. It was desperate, hungry. A fire she had kept buried for too long, finally unleashed. Her body pressed against mine, heat radiating from her like a furnace. She pulled back, panting, eyes wild. "I should not have done that," she said. But she didn't move away. Neither did I. Riza tried to resist. She truly did. But her body betrayed her. Her need for me grew unbearable. Her golden eyes burned with an intensity that sent a thrill down my spine. She fought it for hours. But when I reached out and laced my fingers through hers, she finally broke. A shudder ran through her. She leaned into me, pressing her forehead against mine. "I do not understand," she whispered. "Why is it only you?" I chuckled softly. "Maybe humans are just special." She let out a low, shaky laugh. "You are more than special, human." Her lips brushed against mine again, softer this time. Slower. Her breathing was uneven as she murmured, "I am afraid." "Of what?" I asked. "Of how much I want you." I cupped her cheek, tilting her face up to mine. "Then don't be afraid." She exhaled, her body melting against me. "I cannot hold back anymore." And she didn't. That night, she surrendered completely. And I realized something as I held her close. She was never just my nurse. She was mine. And I was hers. Forever.